Hi, Boyds. Welcome back to week 7 of our course. Hopefully, you had somewhat of a rest over the reading break. For me, it was more of a writing break. I know for some of you in the Alberta context, there was a family day holiday in there and potentially teachers' convention if you're in a teaching scenario in one of the local school boards. But knowing that not everybody has that, I know that we all have March ahead, which hopefully we get out of this winter. This week, you hopefully have gotten a chance to work on the production of your pitch. The due date for that is March the 2nd. If you have any questions or need some support with that, please reach out and let me know. If the deadline is approaching and isn't going to be a good fit for you, please communicate that with me. My assessment practice is such that I will understand and accommodate for you within any scope that I can. One thing that is important to note is that these pieces build on one another. So as we're moving forward from the pitch into the design deep dive, if you're behind on one, we're going to have to make an individual plan for you. So please reach out if the 2nd is a deadline that's not going to work for you. For the most part, I'm going to expect that we're moving on to planning our design deep dive. The big idea here is that rather than doing design to people, we're looking to engage stakeholders in a process of participatory design that models, embeds the mindsets of design thinking, and gets our stakeholders engaged in an organic process to move our school or educational context forward. To that end, there's a planning tool for you to download and work with this week that is a pretty simple idea is that you use jot notes, but starting to think through the concept and starting to think through the agenda and also thinking about what tools you'll need to facilitate it. We are going to meet together synchronously on March the 7th at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The idea of that engagement is going to be for us to engage in critique and revision through a critical friends protocol. I linked it to our news item and you can look and see what that's going to be, but essentially you need to be prepared for that meeting to be able to pitch your design deep dive idea to your group or to a group that I put you in for that day. The more information that you have thought through at that time, the better feedback. Although I don't want you to have committed so much time to it that you're unwilling to make changes in light of what people tell you. So the idea would be that you likely haven't gone to the depth of designing a whole bunch of the tools, but thought about which ones you need. So that's the point of the thinking tool, is to give you a frame for what I think you should have thought of before that date. Now, if you go ahead, if your timing is you're looking ahead and you've got a lot on your plate and you want to do more, of course, that's up to you. But the idea is that we're going to have a chance to build better agendas and a better plan in light of hearing from each other on the 7th. One thing you do want to start thinking ahead to as well is that the timing for your design deep dive, looking for a chance that you can engage your stakeholders, and that may require you to communicate that with them depending on your context. So you want to make that plan. And similarly, you want to start thinking about how you're going to document and tell the story of your design deep dive. I've put a tool in our news item that's a few weeks ahead, realizing that some people might want to think about those things concurrently. So you don't necessarily have to leave that planning of how to tell the story till after you've done the design. It might make most sense depending on you and your thinking process, but you might want to sort of consider those things together in parallel. The last thing I wanted to touch on was where this agenda is headed. My vision is for us to build a web presence for our class that features all of these agendas, with the intent that we can use the web tool as a place to facilitate our design deep dive. Often when I work with groups, It's helpful to be able to have an agenda that they can access on a website, and that they can click on the links and access the tools. It's also helpful to begin to create a repository of those so that I can go back to them and use them. I can link to them as portfolio items. My stakeholders can use them. I've linked on our news item to the Rocky View School's Learning Design Team site. I was a part of that team for 5 years, and if I continue to draw on the agendas and tools I created at that time and the ones that the team continues to build, I'm going to build a prototype this week to share with you so you have a sense. But this is not a big high-tech ask. Essentially, you're going to think through what is the timing of your deep dive, what are the tools you need, and then you'll share those with me, and I'll put them on a shared website. You can make the choice whether that's something that is public, which I hope most people will do, in order for others to use it and to create a shared space that we can show what learning looked like in our course, but also respect that for privacy reasons you may or may not want to do that. But either way, we'll have an online presence where you can take your stakeholders, and if you want to look ahead to that, take a look at that Rocky View exemplar. And also to note, that's not going to require you to do a great deal of technical work at all. It'll be sending me via a Word format your agenda, and then any subsequent tools, potentially an image, and then I'll put those together for us so that those who want that, so that we have a shared space, and more to come on that as I build it this week. Again, hope all is going well. Looking forward to getting out of the month of February, and please reach out to me if there's ways that I can help you. Take care.